Hey guys, what's up? Take a look at this. And this is the reason why I don't like greatswords. And that's basically why. Which is it's pretty crazy. "100 blades!" So, a lot like the ranger, warriors also have a quickness. The ranger can't heal during their quickness. The warrior takes a lot of extra damage during their quickness. And both classes have a way of avoiding damage. The ranger can put all this damage on his pet. The warrior just becomes damage immune. And it's a very, very simple build to get your head around. You only need to use your utilities a lot and 100 blades. And the greatsword has the most mobility out of any weapon the warrior has. And that's all you need. And it has a cripple, a ranged cripple. Is the greatsword itself overpowered? No, I don't think so. I think it's okay. What I think is overpowered is quickness on any class. I think it's too good. But ArenaNet's busy focusing on bug fixes, so I guess it'll be a while before they get to balance issues. Yeah. So I could demonstrate the greatsword build, but you'll find a warrior who does it sooner or later, and that's all you need to know. And you'll see what it's like. For right now, I'll go ahead and reset these and show you guys my Mace+warhorn build. And you can even go double melee, Mace+warhorn and axe and shield, or axe+warhorn or sword. Depends on what you want to do. Or I prefer rifle just because the rifle's really good. And the Sigil of Force will be going on the mace. And on the warhorn, it's kind of up to you, but you're gonna have like not a very high chance to crit, so any of the ones that are on crit aren't really all that great. The one of water is pretty good. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing. And then in the rifle, it's probably another one of force, or maybe hydromancy. And then for your armor, I think I still have the ones. Yeah, Superior Rune of Strength is going to be the one you're using. Oh yeah, and I got rid of my headgear by accident, kinda sorta, because I thought I could just buy a new one, and you can't buy them.
Seize the moment.
So I've been avoiding the underwater like the plague, which kind of sucks.
Interesting.
For your amulet, you're going to be using the Soldier's Amulet. And for your talents, this is off the top of my head, so I don't quite remember them perfectly. But Berserker's Power, nothing in arms, and then Endure Pain at 25%. For this one, it is Sundering Mace. For this one, it is Cull the Weak. And then you're going to take Healing shouts. Lung capacity. And bonus damage under 25% health. And you're not going to switch weapons a whole lot, which is why the Sigil of Force is a good one. My cat just bumped my microphone. Thanks, cat. So, and your utility skills are going to be for Great Justice. You can take Fear Me, but because this is a primarily melee build, it might not be a good idea to take Fear Me. So I've been trying to use On My Mark, and it has a much shorter cooldown, which means you're going to be able to heal more. So I kind of like it, and 10% extra damage for 11 seconds is nice. And Shake It Off is one of the best ones in the game. So you might be thinking, okay, wow, you have no crit chance, no crit damage. How are you going to do damage? Well, you're going to do enough damage because your attack's going to be around 3.4k standard, and I've seen it get up to 3.7k when I got lucky with buffs.
You must visit more often.
Because you can get Might every time you get hit, every 5 seconds, and I got Might like 3 times in a row from that, and I had like 14 or 15 stacks of Might. It was really nice. Really, really nice. Also note you have 3.1k armor and 2.8k health. I know it's 2.7 technically, but it's only 40 hit points away from 28,000. You have no precision, no crit damage or anything like that, so you're not really going to rely on that at all. You're just going to rely on standard hard numbers instead of luck. Yeah, so your shouts are going to heal you. You're going to become invincible at 25% health, and you're going to do another 10% extra damage. When a foe is weakened, which you can do with your Call to Arms on the Warhorn, and your third hit on your auto attack, is the most important thing to land. It's your only source of major damage on this build. It's your only source, other than the rifle's volley. So you have to land that. It also applies weakness on your foes. Weakness is really important. It lowers enemy damage by roughly 25%. It's really good. And while the foe is weakened, you're going to be doing an extra 15% damage because of Sundering Mace and Call the Weak. So you start a fight with a 1200 radius Call to Arms, which will give all your allies vigor, which will let you dodge twice as much, and it'll apply weakness to your foes. Every single one. Then you just auto attack, counter as often as you can if it's against a melee opponent, or you're in melee range against a ranged opponent. And Pommel Bash, the daze is only 1 second, so it's not effective to chain it, and you're not going to be using Skullcrack very much because it's not great, and you're even getting 12% bonus damage if the longer you don't use it. You're only going to use that against someone who's bursting you, like a 100 Blade Warrior or a Quick Shot Ranger, just to interrupt the attack. That's basically it. And before you use that, you're going to want to dodge. And if you can't dodge, you're going to want to Pommel Bash. And if you can't Pommel Bash, that's when you want to use Skullcrack. Otherwise, you just don't want to use it, because the 12% extra damage is a lot. So it's very tanky. You have a lot of heals. All your heals are only on like 20 seconds. You have a good amount of healing power, 300. Lots of armor, lots of power, and boon duration.
Up for a challenge?
Maximum boon duration. What this means is with the strength runes, you'll have longer might duration and 5% damage while under the effect of might. you will always have might, and you will always have swiftness, and you will always have fury.
For great justice.
Strong.
So you have, as you can see, around 40 seconds of might, 40 seconds of fury, 40 seconds of swiftness. The cooldown for Great Justice and Charge is only 20 seconds, and you're going to be applying another rough 10 seconds of fury, 13 seconds of swiftness. Now they're still back up at about 36. Well, 30 for fury, 36 for swiftness. And your Signet of Rage is more than halfway off cooldown. Which means you'll get 40 seconds, 39 seconds technically,
Spirits of the wild
of
Great justice.
all of those, yet again. If you spam them, you will continually build, I think it's about 4 seconds of fury and I think 9 seconds of swiftness if you spam them every time they come off cooldown. And you'll actually be able to build minutes of it. Minutes. Which is huge. And you'll never ever run out of might. You'll always have at least 3 stacks of might. And at the very most you'll have 14 or more if you get lucky.
For great justice.
And a lot of the time you'll have 11 or 8, and I'm sitting at 3.5k at 11. And when I go to 8, I think it's like 3.4k. The only thing this build lacks is a cripple, which is why I like the rifle. It has a very long-range cripple. What that means is if someone else has swiftness and can cripple you, it's very hard to catch up to them. But you do have swiftness all the time, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of a melee build for the warrior, is having swiftness on constantly. And you can only really do that if you invest into the into the tactics line, which will give you vitality and boon duration. So there's that.
up for a challenge.
As far as the damage goes, I'll go ahead and hit some heavy golem.
For great justice.
So 1500 not crit. And you know, the auto attack doesn't do a ton of damage. Your crit rate's only 24%.
For great justice.
And you can hit once, weaken, and then you much more damage. That was a 28k crit on your auto attack. And I'm not at maximum damage yet.
For great justice.
Because my adrenaline's not full. Because you're using Signet of Rage all the time and the mace attack's pretty slow, you won't have maximum damage for a while. I'm gonna wait for the Signet of Rage to come up.
For great justice.
Okay, maximum damage. Let's go. Let's see a crit. There's the 3.2k crit. It's 3195. 2k not crit. 2.1k not crit. So as far as the damage goes, it's pretty good. And every attack on a cooldown of 10 seconds, you'll heal nearby allies. I think that heals you too, but I'm not entirely sure. And I just realized I didn't use On My Mark. I need to keep thinking about that because I'm used to having Fear Me on that slot.
For great justice.
So
On my mark.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, does pretty good damage. And the 10% bonus damage for 11 seconds is hefty, especially if you're running with a friend and they're a burst damage build. And the weakness will help them stay alive, help you stay alive, and so are all your shouts heals. Remember, this isn't a damage build, and it never will be, just like Roaring Thunder was never really a damage build, although it still does good damage. But it's a support build, and it's a very tanky support build that does good, solid DPS. Now, it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, like the Burst 100 Blades or anything like that, or the Ranger's Quick Shot, but, you know, it's a good support build, and I like it. I think it's very good. Oh, Roaring Thunder got nerfed. I don't think I mentioned specifics about that. The Sigil of Air got nerfed by about 500 points of damage, and now it does as much damage as the Flame Burst Sigil, and it used to do about 15k, or not 15k, 1500. Now it only does 1000. The Flame Burst also does 1000, except it's an AoE. So there's no reason not to use the Flame Burst over the Sigil of Air, and they don't stack together, and they're all on the same cooldown. So you pick one or the other. That's not entirely true. The Sigil of Air does like 50, 100-ish more damage, but it's so close that just having AoE on the attack is good. It's much more important. And I don't know how big the AoE is, but it's probably about 600, so that's okay. What else? What else? Oh, and the runes, the superior runes of air, that got nerfed too. That used to do about 2,000 not crit, and now it only does about 1,500 not crit. The 1,500 is okay, but it still has a 10-second cooldown, so it's not really all that great. You won't be, you know, you won't get lucky and like have your enemy hit you and then they take a 3.2k lightning bolt. So that kind of sucks. So I like this build. Permanent swiftness, permanent frenzy, no crits, that's fine with me, I don't really care. You still have a 24% chance to crit, 1 out of 4 attacks, roughly. So I think that's okay. No crit damage, but honestly, I almost never die unless I'm fighting multiple opponents, so that's fine with me. The only thing that can kill me one-on-one are Rangers. I have more trouble with Rangers, specifically the Ranger Frenzy on Pet Switch build, the burst damage build that I showed you in my last video. That one, specifically, against this build, is kind of like my worst enemy. Because you can have knockback, swiftness, cripple, all on the Ranger attacks, on the short bow, and you can switch to the longbow just for the quick shot, and the quickness will outlast the quick shot duration, because you can have 6 seconds of quickness and the quick shot only takes about 3. And with the short bow you have a cripple and swiftness. With the longbow you have a knockback, and even though I have swiftness constantly, it's still really hard to keep up with the Ranger. And then they just burst you down, and even though I can survive the entire burst, you know, if I include dodge rolls, I don't have a shield, which is kind of why Axe Shield is a good secondary, just for that, just to counter that, and 100 Blades, and maybe Haste Thieves, but I don't know. I haven't seen too many thieves use it. I don't really know why. You know, I know you can't dodge, but I think that's it. Rangers can't heal, warriors take tons of extra damage. I think warriors have the biggest debuff, and I know engineers have quickness too, and it gives them a random debuff of one of the other 3. But I don't know, I think quickness is the most overpowered thing in the game, especially if you combine it with the heavy burst skill, and you just go all in burst, and you can literally, and if you have like a stun or something, or a knockdown, or anything like that, you can literally kill the opponent before they can do anything unless they have a stun break. And it takes like no skill. It takes no skill at all. and I don't really like that. Which is why I like playing support builds. Because support takes skill. It really does, because you have to survive, and you have to keep your teammates alive, and you have to watch more than just your enemy and yourself. You have to watch the situation around you, your proximity to your enemies and your teammates. Because you can, for Great Justice also applies to teammates. Your charge also applies to teammates. You can break your teammates and yourself out of cripple, immobilize, and chill with your charge. You can give them vigor. You can apply weakness to every enemy around you. You can even step in front of your teammates and block an attack and counterattack, and they won't take damage, you won't take damage, and it punishes the enemy for not focusing you. So I like it. I like it a lot. And then Fear Me is kind of bad because you only have to think about yourself and your enemy. On My Mark, I like it because it, you get more healing because it's on a shorter cooldown. And the vulnerability really, really helps, especially if it's to 2-on-1 or you're just focusing an opponent. And it's not like my damage is low. I still do good damage. And I don't have any burst skill, so an enemy dodge rolling, if they're smart, they'll dodge the third attack. If they're dumb, they won't dodge at all, and they'll keep thinking they're waiting for some kind of burst skill. If they're really good, they'll save their dodges for the third attack only. But most people don't watch that well, or they'll think of like a weapon, they think I might skull crack and then like switch to a greatsword or 100 blades or something. So like, as soon as I daze them, because skull crack is a stun and daze and stun look really similar. Except you can move with daze, you can't move with stun, but you can attack. And the most visual effect when that happens is that your all your attacks on your weapons go on cooldown. So people are like, oh no, I'm stunned, and then like break stun even though it only lasts a second. And they think, I guess they think I skull crack them, or they think I'm about to switch to a different weapon and eviscerate or something. I don't know. I've seen that happen. There's really not a reason to dodge roll against this build unless it's on the third attack. But that's it. The control's okay, and I love control builds. The best control build is dual mace, but the first hand mace honestly isn't great. I think it's good though, and there's a lot of traits for it, which is why I like it. The hammer has a lot of control. Axe, or probably axe, and offhand mace have a lot of control. Sword has a lot of mobility, and then the offhand mace does have a lot of control. Just because 1200 range, 2-second knockdown is really good. Okay, in my next video, I'll go ahead and put this build to the test. So that'll be the end of this one. Later.